It is time to make our picks for week 20 in the CFL. And JC, though last week's games lacked a little bit of energy, a bit of a disappointing slate in week 19, I am jacked because I went a perfect 4-0 against the spread. Extremely proud of that. And I expect you to heap praise on me before we even begin to make our picks for this week.
Well, I can certainly say that you are a superior spread picker than I am by leaps and bounds. In fact, I don't think there's a worse spread picker out there than I am. So actually, that's not much praise at all, Hodge, but I will give you your kudos where it's due.
Well, I appreciate it. And if anybody is looking to tail picks heading into week 20, it's a truncated slate, only 3 games, then feel free to copy mine and purposely go against JC's. Though
Hey, I'm pretty good string up. You're not very good string up, Hodge. Let's be frank about that.
I have been better against the spread so far this season than straight up. That is true. Though I'd imagine we're going to agree on some of these games, but we do not discuss our picks before we start sitting down to actually record these videos. So I don't know who you're picking. And on that note, let's get into it for week 20. The Hamilton TigerCats are 2.5-point home favorites to the Calgary Stampeders on Friday night when the two teams meet at Tim Hortons Field for a game that means nothing in the standings, though both teams seem intent on winning as they're both fielding veteran lineups. Can Bo Levi Mitchell get revenge on his former team, or can Calgary snap their 8-game winless skid?
I think it's going to be all Ticats in this one. Even though both of these teams are going to miss the playoffs, they're in different stratospheres right now. The Hamilton TigerCats, of course, were surging late until that latest loss. I still think they have that juice in the tank, and they're playing for a staff that's going to be there next year. For certain, there's something for them to prove in terms of sticking around and earning jobs and showing that this can be a winning football team and a winning combination going forward. The Calgary Stampeders, we don't know what's going to happen with their coaching staff or their front office. There's uncertainty there. We don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback position. I thought Matthew Schultz gave them a bit of a boost last week, but he's not the guy of the future. They're just waiting for PJ Walker to be ready for the last week of the season, in my estimation. And I don't think that provides a lot of motivation to a team that, frankly, has lacked it for the entire CFL season. I do not think this is going to be an easy one for them to play on the road in a hostile environment at Tim Hortons Field, where the Tabbies are trying to get one last win for their home fan base. I can't see Calgary eking this one out. It's going to be the Tabbies all the way.
I'm also all over the Ticats in this one. And, we talk about the Bo Levi Mitchell angle. Well, the Matthew Schultz angle is kind of interesting as well. He, of course, started Hamilton's only playoff game a year ago, starting that East semifinal in a loss to the Montreal Alouettes. That being said, I think we know what Matthew Schultz is at this point. We know who he is. He's been in this league for 6-7 years. He's 31 years old. I don't think that Matthew Schultz is the guy to get you over the top. To me, the only guy I'm really excited to see for the Calgary Stampeders still at this point of the year is Reggie Begelton, who I think has done a fantastic job, not only on the field, but off the field with his leadership this year and what's been a very tough year for the Stampeders. The other thing that I think might be flying under the radar a little bit with this game, JC, is if the Calgary Stampeders lose this one, they will have the first overall pick in the 2025 CFL draft and could potentially use it to take Curtis Rourke, Canadian quarterback out of the University of Indiana, who's suddenly even in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy. Now, will Curtis Rourke be on a CFL roster in 2025? Probably not, as the NFL pursues him. However, he could be worth that first overall pick just to secure his rights down the line. The Toronto Argonauts are 3.5-point home favorites over the Ottawa Redblacks on Saturday afternoon as the Boatmen look to clinch second place in the East Division. Drew Brown appears primed to return to the starting lineup after missing 2 games due to an ankle injury as he'll look to get Ottawa out of their current funk. Meanwhile, it looks like Kadeem Carey should play for the Argos after getting nicked up against the Blue Bombers last week. Will Toronto clinch second in the East Division, or will Ottawa spoil the party?
It's going to be the Argos playing at home in the East semifinal here. I just don't see a way out for Ottawa right now. That team is too banged up. Getting Drew Brown back is going to help a little bit, but that's not the source of their problems right now. They go far deeper than that. And I think the Toronto Argonauts are peaking at the right time. Chad Kelly is playing excellent football. That run game is hard to defend against, especially if you've got a weak linebacking core like the Ottawa Redblacks do right now without pieces like a Darius Pickett in the lineup. And I think the Argos are going to run away with this one. I think they will put a decisive stamp on second in the East, and they'll be hot going into the playoffs.
Well, there is some good news for Ottawa on the injury front in this one. Jovan Santos Knox was a full participant in practice on Wednesday, coming off a knee injury. Bryce Carter, who they've missed sorely, was limited. Justin Hardy, their top receiver, who didn't play last week, was limited. Devontae Dedman was limited. So we'll see what this roster looks like come game day. But I'm with you, JC. At the end of the day, I think Drew Brown adds something to that offense. I think Jeremiah Masoli showed, unfortunately, he's an easy guy to cheer for, but I think his best days are very clearly behind him. He struggled with decision making. He did not have a lot on some of those long throws, which I thought led to some of those easy interceptions that we saw opposing teams get over the club's last two losses. So I am all on the Toronto Argonauts on this one. I think the Argonauts are actually the best team in the East Division right now, period. And that's even including the Montreal Alouettes, who have not been as impressive the second half of the season. I mean, if you can go into Winnipeg and win by a field goal, then you can certainly beat Ottawa by at least 4 points at home. So I'm happy to take the Argonauts here. I would be happy to take the Argonauts, even if this line moved to -5, -6. A touchdown, I'd have to think about it, but at -3.5, I'm very comfortable eating those points. I think that the Argonauts are going to take this, and I think they're going to host the East semifinal. The BC Lions are 1.5-point home underdogs to the Montreal Alouettes on Saturday night in a game that will mark the return of Vernon Adams Jr. Though this game means nothing in the standings for either team, Lions head coach Rick Campbell has made it clear that Adams can win the starting job in the playoffs with a good performance. Meanwhile, the Alouettes have yet to practice as of this recording, so we have no idea who will start at quarterback. Cody Fajardo, Davis Alexander, heck, maybe it'll be Dom Davis. Who knows? Which team will take this one, JC?
Look, on equal footing with both teams at full strength, with all the marbles on the line, I'm taking the Montreal Alouettes here 10 times out of 10. But the Alouettes have nothing to play for here, and frankly have not looked good while that's been the case. They aren't especially motivated, and the BC Lions, for all their many, many flaws, should be motivated for this game. They've got the return of Vernon Adams Jr. to the starting lineup. The thought is that's going to create a spark for that offense, that guys will want to rally behind the person that they see as their leader from the start of the season, and they'll elevate their play accordingly. I don't think he's a fix-all. I don't think he's going to paper over all the other issues on the defense and on the offensive line, but I think Vernon Adams Jr. will provide some type of spark after having the week of practice, and it'll be enough to get past a Alouettes team that's just going through the motions. Do I think it'll be enough to get it done in the playoffs? No, but I think he will get the start in that West semifinal on the road, because he's going to play well enough in this game to deserve it, and he's going to get the Lions what should be their last victory of the season.
I'm also on the Lions here, which is a scary thing to say because the Lions have done nothing to inspire confidence over the last certainly month. I mean, this team has been bad on defense. They have been mediocre on special teams, and they've really struggled on offense. And I think head coach and co-general manager Rick Campbell made the right decision going to Vernon Adams Jr. I've been saying for weeks that Nathan Rourke is the future of this team, but right now he's not the guy. He needs somebody who needs to go through a full off season, go through a training camp, and in this very timing oriented, finesse, detailed offense that Jordan Maximic has designed, out west, you really need every single detail to be on point from the quarterback position. It has not been that, and that is why Nathan Rourke has thrown 4 touchdown passes and 9 picks over 8 starts, which is not only falling short of what he accomplished in 2022, but is falling short of even the league average standard, which I don't think any of us predicted when Nathan Rourke came back from the NFL. To me, this is a tough road trip to make, right? You're flying all the way across the country. You're starting very late for your bodies for the Alouettes. And I agree, this team still has a tune-up game in week 21 coming against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. This team did not look good offensively at home against the Redblacks. Granted, the weather played a part of that. But I think that this is a prime opportunity for the BC Lions to finish the year at 500. And if they don't, JC, as far as I'm concerned, they may as well just pack it up because they already have an extremely tough road to the Grey Cup at home. They're going to have to go through Regina and Winnipeg in some order. We don't know the order yet, but we know that they will be at Winnipeg and at Saskatchewan if they are to make it to the Grey Cup. So this is, I think, a must-win game. Yes, it's meaningless in the standings, but to me, I would call this a must-win game for the BC Lions. This stops you from backing into the playoffs. It gives you a chance to get that confidence with Vernon Adams Jr., who, by the way, through the first half of the season, was the undisputed MOP. For all the MOP talk that's happened in the CFL this season, none of it happens if Vernon Adams Jr. doesn't injure his knee in early August against Winnipeg at Princess Auto Stadium. He has a chance to come in and save this season. Again, Nathan Rourke is the future, but Vernon Adams Jr. is the present out west. I'm happy to take the Lions here. I'm a little scared, but I'm going to do it and hold my breath. I'm also a little worried, JC, that all my picks seem to align with yours. So albeit next week when we're sitting here and I went 0-3, I will blame you.
I'm happy to take that blame, Hodge.
Thank you, as always, for listening to our picks, watching our picks. Please like, rate, subscribe, leave a positive comment. If you want to leave a negative comment, please do so on somebody else's YouTube channel or podcast feed. We'll see you next time. For JC Abbott, I'm John Hodge. Enjoy Week 20 in the CFL.